how does your routine work while you're out there? Do you have some free time, do a little bit of like stuff for yourself?
So I guess like I get up about like 5 or 6, depending on how I feel. And then I go to the gym or go for a walk to the beach. Then I have a workout, then I have breakfast. Then I do some work, project work, catch up work. Anything else I need to action or things that have probably come in from the night before where I've been asleep. Then it gets to about 3, 4 o'clock, and then the UK start waking up. And so then I dedicate my time to action emails and things like that. So yeah, so it's
Wonderful.
quite a good routine. And then like I try to have a break during sunset while I'm in Bali. And then I come back and then check out what other emails need to get done. And sometimes I have client meetings or staff meetings and things like that. So yeah, usually it works out pretty well this side of the world because I have like the whole day to kind of do all the things that I need to get done, and it doesn't really feel rushed. I feel super chilled.
That's a great lifestyle. And so you're in Bali now, but where were you before?
So I was during the summer, I was like traveling around Europe. I went to then I then went to South Africa on a safari, which was amazing. I then headed over to Sri Lanka to see the team, and then headed over to Singapore for the Accounting and Asia conference. Now I'm in Bali for a mini break before I head over to New Zealand.
You are the most traveled woman in our person in our industry. I mean, that is phenomenal. And the fact that you're able to do that alongside work, I don't know how you balance it. Like you are clearly a master of timekeeping.
The funny thing is, like, I remember trying to work out like how I end up being so productive usually. And what it is that I get so excited about my plans that I literally planning the best times to work, and then I just like power work or smart work. So
Mm.
if I'm, say, for example, going to the airport, sometimes I'll go to the airport a couple of hours early. So then
Yeah.
it gives me like a good 3 to 4 hours sitting in the lounge. And then I just basically get my work done, get my head down before I take the flight. And then on the flight, I have access to Wi-Fi. So if anything comes in, then I can then prepare emails. I don't send them, but I then get them ready. So I'm really productive traveling. So I just, I suppose I've learned how to do it over time. So I've been doing it for quite a few years, like before COVID. So 2015.
And
Well,
how do
prior to that
you
even, but I mean, with my business, it's been 2015.
well, that's amazing. How do you keep your team on the same page and aligned when you're constantly in different time zones and different territories? Like, how do you make sure that you come back together and have that moment where you're all focused on the same path or goal or mission?
I guess is a daily task. We're on the same goal and same path and same mission every single day. So we all have our work deadlines and we all need to meet them. And it's like a constant check-in and regular touch points with the team and the people involved in getting the work done. So it's literally just a matter of making sure that there's no blockers. So we have updates on a regular basis, which will say, what we need to chase, what we need to do, what we need to action, what things are holding you back. So we call them the blockers. Anything that I need to intervene or help or support or do anything. That's what my time is like later on. So I could dedicate it to the team and to making sure that we don't have things that are stopping the deadlines or meeting client demands.
And what are your biggest priorities at the moment? So if you were to talk to me about, I mean, you're in Asia at the moment, you have traveled quite broadly and widely for the last few months by the sound of it. So what are the big priorities you're focused on right now?
So my big priorities is just ensuring that we're meeting like what the clients require, believe it or not, because I'm heading over to New Zealand, but I'm actually going to meet two clients. And so it's a really good opportunity for me to get to meet them face to face, have those like great conversations and just learn a little bit more about their future. It just means that we can then plan ahead in advance for the next couple of years or year, whatever they've got planned in. And then I then look to see what things I can then implement now, ready for their next big project or their campaigns or whatever they're trying to, plan for the future. So it's just really about like, well, I suppose it's not, it's just constantly thinking ahead and thinking about what to do now for the plans of the future.
And when I last saw you, was at Accountex and the night before at Accountax.
Yes.
You were
Yeah.
donning you were donning a very nice firm check t-shirt, which and they obviously by extension and knowing you, I got myself a nice bag of coffee as well. Are
Amazing.
you finding the clients are asking more about AML at the moment, or what sort of the relationship for you in terms of AML, KYC, and how it works with your practice?
Yeah, I guess like I set my practice up in 2015, and we constantly have to keep up to date and compliant with all the clients that that we take on and who we work with. And for me, like we had like a manual process and it was a little bit laborious. And it's just then finding out the solutions out there that are literally going to run alongside and be aligned of what we do with the tech savvy side and having it intuitive and interactive and easy for the team to use. And so when I was approached by, actually it was Connectworks over a year ago. They are a company based in Australia and New Zealand. Well, sorry, they operate in Australia and New Zealand, from New Zealand. Um, and they would try to launch into the UK. They did their research, and I helped them, support them during that year, during that journey. They did an enormous amount of research with the UK accountants to find out exactly what the UK accountants needed for AML and for all the things that they needed to implement into their practice. And yeah, so it's then about implementing that into my practice to make sure that we stay compliant and have a big whole refresher for myself, my team, and my clients to make sure that we're staying on track with all the due diligence that we have to actually do, by law, into the practice. So firm check, just working alongside them, it's been an amazing journey, and getting to know the ins and outs on how it's developed, how the product evolves through research and how they prepare to listen. And I think they had a massive changeover and turnaround of how they approach the UK. So for me, it was like something that I was really keen and interested to use and to work with them as well.
So that's interesting. So who's in your tech stack now? I guess obviously there's some obvious ones, but who's in your tech stack that you say, okay, this is my optimal tech stack? And some of those obviously are a lot older than others. But if you were to name your it's like top trumps, like all your superpowers in your tech stack, who would you name them? Name check.
Well, you put me on the spot now. Okay, so zero are obviously like my main. That's the main one, obviously, with the bookkeeping. Ignition has been like the fundamental tool because it pretty much does like all my payments, invoices, and automates all of the, I'd say onboarding, not the full onboarding. Um, so I use Dext still. So that's like a massive product. So again, it's just using all like like you say, the power tools that are just the fundamentals,
Yeah.
but then it's implemented things like Blue Dot, which it used to be called Twizo, for example, where, for example, there, you record the meeting and then it does like all the AI. I know Loom does it now. I used Loom before, but now I use Twizo for different reasons. So it's just really finding solutions that are going to be, powerful in our practice. And I guess one of those is the new one that we're working with is translucent, which is for multi-entity. So pretty much every single one of my clients has a subsidiary, or they are multi-entities, and they're international. And so it's then looking at those products that are literally going to stitch everything together and make our lives easier.
So you were saying that you'd taken a little bit of a break actually from most of the industry type events over the last year, and that you're kind of like you're re-indoctrinating, I guess, to a lot of different types of events. You've been very active on social in the last couple of weeks. Especially if you've been in with the accounting community, as we with Heather Smith and the post the other day. So, what are your industry sort of pros? What's working really well at that sort of level that you're loving, and what's your peeves? Like, what's not like sort of driving you further back or not as like engaged with it, just to kind of get a perspective.
Yeah, I guess like I'm not like sounding negative. I've been attending conferences like forever, since like conferences for like the last 20 odd years. So it was getting a little bit like boring for me. attending and seeing all the same people and the same sort of like sessions. And so that's kind of why I thought, you know what, like I don't not love my job. I'm so passionate about what I do, and I love, my clients to pieces, and I love helping them. So I didn't want to go through this phase of going to conferences and thinking, oh, like I'm getting like conference fatigue. And
Mm.
so I just decided like it's probably a good idea just to have a breather and take a step back for a little bit and just decide and see like where can I get my knowledge base from, where can I get my skills from, where can I get my continuing professional development from, because like most of the time like I would be speaking at the events, and so I would find myself going speaking at the events and then trying my hardest to kind of escape, and not avoiding people, because uh, obviously I was there to kind of meet people, but it was just genuinely going through a phase of what am I getting from this? Um, I'm giving to everybody else, but I wasn't getting anything for myself. And so it was really important for me to just work out where I can get that from, like back again, to be re-energized and to see like what innovative things are happening around the world that's going to literally help me to inject that back into my business and into the way I work. And so um, actually one of my clients, Bridget Harris from YouCanBook.me, she was presenting in Austin, Texas, for SaaS stock, or for I think Nathan Lauter, I can't actually, as founder 500. And so she said, why don't I come along? So I was like, you know what, yeah, I will. And from that, like we've created a founders group in WhatsApp, and the conversation there is amazing, and I'm just learning so much from the women in that group. I'm learning so much from what they're going through in their businesses. They mostly have technology companies, so I'm learning the conversation and the language and things that they have to go through in their day-to-day business, which actually essentially is then helping me with my client base. I'm starting to understand what they're doing, what they're developing, what they're going through, things they need to implement on a day-to-day basis. And if I didn't go to that, I wouldn't be developing myself. And I think as not just as an accountant, just as a human, I think it's really important to have self-development, and to always like grow your knowledge base, so that you can start to do amazing different things and take the opportunities and make decisions, and also like give business advice as well.
Mm.
So I think it's really important to open your network, especially as a business advisor.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think there's some repetitive content that can present itself at some of the main conferences, but there are a lot of outliers. And as you said, if you can take a little walk off the beaten track to some of the tech conferences, there
Yeah.
is a measurable benefit to bringing something like an external CRM or something into the practice space. So it is going to be interesting to see how some of that leaks more. And as you said, the importance of building other networks that are female entrepreneurs or just generally entrepreneurs, startup life. Listen, it's super nice and super helpful and super great to speak to you about everything that you're working on at the moment. I've always noticed over the last few years, Alex, like you always bring the newest people to the table. So I remember when we were talking a few years ago, and I think you were already working with GI outsourcing at that point, and then you'd worked with other types of tech stacks. I'd always seen you in the latest and the newest, and I thought, oh, this woman is bringing the innovation to accounting. So I love that.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and it's been really, an honor to be on your podcast. And thank you for inviting me.
No worries, and I can't wait to see you again when you're this side of the ocean. I was going to say the pond, the ocean, um, and I'm
Yeah,
sure there's going to be something else that we're going to cross paths at. But always a pleasure, and I can't wait to see you again soon.